Okay, so let's talk about the dragon pit in King's Landing. King Maegor the First, Maegor the Cruel, he ordered the construction of this enormous building to house the many dragons belonging to House Targaryen. When Aegon, Visenya and Rhaenys first came to Westeros, King's Landing did not exist. There was just a small fishing village. But those three came and they set up the Aegon Fort, which is the precursor to the Red Keep. They made this little village their new home, and before long the village grew into a town, and then the town grew into a city. It made it harder and harder to cater to the dragons. They're getting bigger, there's more of them. Without a building inside the city walls, you'd have to be looking further out into the countryside. So I think the reason Maegor ordered this building to be built was so that it was easier to access their dragons. You didn't have to go outside the city to a separate place. It was right on your doorstep. Now, the Dragon Pit, it's a huge, huge building, and it took a decade to build. Initially, people were quite hesitant to work on this project, and it's because of Maegor. He'd just finished overseeing the construction of the Red Keep that had started during his father the Conqueror's time. But a lot of people who worked on the construction of the Red Keep disappeared. Maegor had them killed so that they would not reveal the secrets of the Red Keep, the secret passageways and the tunnels and the staircases and things like that. So when construction began on the Dragon Pit, people were a little hesitant. Those who did work on the Dragon Pit, allegedly they would just flee into the night before Maegor would have a chance to get rid of them. In order to get the construction finished, Maegor had to turn to a different resource, the prisoners in the cells of King's Landing. Now, it's not long after that Maegor himself is found dead on the Iron Throne. His nephew, Jaehaerys, he becomes the new king, but he's just a kid. His master of coin, Rhaegar Draz, was in charge of coming up with the money to finance the building of the Dragon Pit. He had to look to the free cities for loans because Maegor had left the crown potless. There was even a toll put on the gates in King's Landing in order to gather the funds to finish off this building. That did not go down well. Jaehaerys' own mother, the Dowager Queen Alyssa Velaryon, she married her second husband, Lord Rhaegar Baratheon, in the Dragon Pit. It wasn't finished, but it seemed like it was one of the few places that could actually cater for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. After 10 years, it was finally built, and King's Landing held a huge tourney to celebrate this new dragon pit. Jaehaerys created an order of the dragon keepers, 77 of them in total, to cater to the needs of the dragons, to tend to them, to look after them. Balerion the Black Dread was the first occupant of the dragon pit. He's the biggest and the oldest of the Targaryen dragons. Now, interestingly, Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne, who were both dragon riders, he rode Vermithor, she rode Silverwing. They made the choice not to house those two dragons in the dragon pit. Instead, they were kept at the Red Keep. But pretty much all of the other dragons, especially the little ones, they were all housed in the dragon pit going forward. It stood there as this huge monument in the middle of King's Landing until the Dance of the Dragons. Now, on House of the Dragon, we saw Rhaenys Targaryen burst through the floorboards on melees, pretty much destroying a large part of the dragon pit. That does not happen in the book, but the dragon pit goes through some things. I won't get into the details of that, but we should be seeing it on House of the Dragon at some point in the near future.